I have to stay true to my channel and talk about all things I'm experiencing here in Sweden, right? So in today's video, I'm not that happy and I want to talk about it. It is related to the Swedish healthcare system. So let me tell you what happened and why I'm so angry. Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Julie and I'm originally from Germany. 1 year ago, I moved here from London, UK with my British partner and my 3-year-old daughter, and now we also have a 3-month-old baby. On this YouTube channel, I talk about all things Sweden, you know, what it is like to live here in Sweden, the joys, but also what kind of obstacles we are facing. And I also like to share my opinion, you know, what it is like here to live in Sweden. So if you're interested in following along, please subscribe to my channel. Okay, let's dive into my experience with the Swedish healthcare system. I did make a video already where I was talking about giving birth, or just before I was giving birth, what the process was like, and that was actually quite positive. So today is a little bit different and I'm talking about going to the emergency department. It basically happened that my 3-month-old, who just turned 3 months, so she is almost still a newborn, had over 39 degrees fever, and that was very concerning, you know. So I called 1177. That's kind of the go-to when something, you know, not super emergency, but when something happens and you don't know really what to do. Should you go to the doctor? Should you stay at home? So they will give you a bit of advice. They will ask you some questions so they can kind of assess a little bit what you should do next. And with such a young age, you know, we as parents are very careful, and I think also others are quite careful, because you never know really what can happen. It can worsen within, like, you know, a few hours. So normally people are quite careful when it comes to babies. When we called, they actually connected us with 112, which is, you know, you normally call that number when there is an emergency, and they normally send an ambulance. But we were talking to them first, trying to describe the situation. To be fair, she just had a high fever and she was screaming a little bit, but she did stop in between. So it was not really super emergency, I have to say. And they also decided not to send an ambulance, but recommended to call BVC, which is basically Barnvårdscentralen. You call it basically when your kid is sick. And it's normally the place where I go with Maeve to have her checkups, you know, to weigh her and that kind of stuff. So I called them at 8 a.m. in the morning. There was only an answering machine, so I only left a message. By that, you know, I think everything started about 6 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. So it was quite early. So by 8 a.m. things calmed down a little bit. I wasn't so stressed anymore. We gave her a little bit like medicine so the fever can go down a little bit, and it went down a little bit. It was up and down, you know, around 38, 39 every now and then. Anyways, long story short, they finally called me, I think around noon, so 12 p.m., which I thought was also quite delayed, you know. By that time, I kind of made up my mind to probably just stay at home and observe the fever and, you know, and see, you know, we are just sick. I was sick, by the way, as well. I had over 39 degrees, so both of us were quite sick at home. But then the nurse recommended to go into emergency and just let the baby check out. I have to say I was not a fan at all, but then again, this was the first time she was ill, and you never know with babies, it can change so quickly, so better to check them out. So I actually went on public transport to go to the next kind of emergency department, which was about half an hour from my home. Unfortunately, we still don't have a car, so that was not an option. And now the drama kind of starts. You know, I thought having a baby, especially a newborn, would speed things up. You can't just wait hours and hours in an emergency room with such a small baby. And that's where I got really angry now, because it was so inefficient, it was really horrible, and people just didn't care. And to be frank, I really hated it. I tried to make it very short. I mean, the emergency room wasn't actually very crowded. I think there were 2 people in front of us, so I was very, very hopeful and thought, you know, this is going to be quick, maybe an hour. So after 50 minutes, it was already our turn and we went to a room. Then it took a little bit of time, and then 2 nurses came, measured the fever of Maeve. What I didn't like was they didn't really communicate with me to say like what they are doing and, you know, why. And they kind of like just put a thermometer into my baby's bum, and I thought that was a bit, I don't know, I didn't like that so much, more because it wasn't really communicated to me. They could have done it with the ear. Later on they did it in the ear, and that was fine for them, so why not doing it in the first place? Anyways, that was not the worst, you know. So, and then they just disappeared and said the doctor will come, and we waited and waited and waited. The baby was screaming. I kind of like had to breastfeed her the entire time because I didn't really know what to do. She was tired, she was miserable, she had fever, you know. It was so uncomfortable in that room. There was nothing I could really sit down properly to breastfeed her, so I was holding her. My arm was like falling off, my nipples were falling off. Like, it was such a bad experience, and I just didn't know when the doctor would come. I even opened the door. I was outside with the baby a little bit just to see if there's anyone I could maybe ask, but no one actually cared. There were some people on the hallway like packing things. People passed by, they didn't even look at me, and the baby was screaming. I felt really horrible, you know. I felt very ill myself, you know. I did tell them as well I was ill, but again, no one really cared. I was here for my daughter, so I had to wait for her, and how I felt didn't matter. And then finally, I think I tried to lie down with her on one of those, you know, like beds they had to maybe sleep a little bit. And then finally the doctor came, and she just looked into her ears and her mouth and was like, yeah, okay. And then we do a blood test and a urine test, just in case, she said. And I was like, okay. I was already quite pissed off, you know, and quite exhausted and ill and everything. And I just asked her, will this, you know, take another few hours until someone comes? And she was like, I tried to tell the nurses, you know, to come quite quickly. Well, they came, I don't know, after maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then just kind of like, and just took her blood. And then they gave me like a cup and were like, so just try to catch some pee from the baby. And I was like, okay, how am I supposed to do that? I tried, you know, I was like opening the diaper, trying to encourage her to pee. And at some point she started crying, and I couldn't just leave her there with the diaper open and let her pee all over me because I didn't have any clothes to change myself with. So I just gave up. But no one came again. Like, I was sitting there breastfeeding, trying, you know, to stay calm and like wait and wait and wait. I felt like they always forgot me in between, and that was, again, how can you do that? And the baby was crying again in between when I wasn't breastfeeding her, or she wasn't sleeping, or those 10 minutes in between. It was horrible. I just wanted to be home and rest. That's what I wanted. But I also felt I couldn't just leave, you know. They probably, you know, with what I have read about Sweden and the social service, you know, I felt a bit, maybe they accused me of not taking care of my daughter, waiting in a room, you know, and doing all the things necessary. So I obviously didn't dare to just leave, basically. And then finally a doctor came, and a nurse first came and asked me if I had luck with the pee, and I was like, it's not going to happen. And she was like, you can come back. And I was like, I'm not coming back, you know, it's just not happening. And then the doctor came, I don't know, another 20 minutes later, and I just said, I just want to go home. And then she was like, okay, fine, you can go home now. And that was after 4 hours being there, half a day with a newborn. 4 hours while I was there. It was horrible, you know. I mean, I have a comparison. I did the same thing in the UK, and I was out there within an hour with my newborn. And you know, I don't understand why I had to sit there and like wait for ages. It really wasn't busy at all. I didn't see many people waiting in the waiting room. Every now and then I could hear the bell and stuff. So there was really no reason for letting me stay in this room for more than 4 hours. Like, I was so angry by the end. I'm really thinking next time to call them and ask them for advice. If, you know, for them it's really easy just to say, go to the emergency, you know, and let your baby check out. It's easy to say because you just say that in a minute and then you go and do your work. For me, it's like I have to go there, I have to wait there, and obviously I had to wait a long time and then go back. And all that time I didn't have any food. I had myself 39 degrees fever. I didn't have any things with me. So you can probably hear in my voice, I'm talking about this makes me so angry again. There was no necessity to kind of treat me that way, and especially with a baby. Sorry to say that this experience was just really bad for me. And it doesn't have to be always like this, of course, but again, I want to stay true to my channel and talk about everything I'm experiencing here in Sweden, and that's what I basically experienced. For the first time, you know, it was a bad experience, and I really, really hope that this doesn't continue, you know, because I hear so much about the Swedish healthcare system from others, and the treatment is not always that great. I don't know if it has to do anything with me being a foreigner, not speaking Swedish yet. It shouldn't, hopefully. I don't want to accuse anyone, but I just want to speak my, you know, my feelings and everything, so you know how I feel and what it could be like here. Okay, thanks so much for listening till the end. I really appreciate it. This was a rant video and I'm really sorry about that, but it had to come out, you know. I needed to talk about this, and I really hope next time will be better. I hope I see you in my next video. Until then, have a great day and stay safe. Hey do!